What was your experience when you entered the
Ah,
center? What was it like?
student 17, full blown, giving my life away to it by 19. There was beauty in the beginning, and I mean, listen, the fact that I gave my life away to it, the fact that I, renounced my sex drive, the fact that I gave up all the arts that I was doing, and the fact that I gave up, in my opinion, I delayed what could have been a probably successful career in the arts, in music and dance. I mean, I was competing in dance at that age, and I was quite talented. I was a better dancer than I am today, and with music, I definitely could have done one of those things if I put my mind to it. The reason why I didn't is obviously there was something in the Kabbalah Center that I did enjoy. There was something that it was giving me. um, I think I was able to get lost in the community. As much as I, in retrospect, and we'll talk about that later, a lot of cult like tendencies, a lot of dangerous thought patterns that emerged from the Kabbalah Center, a lot of that stemmed and emanated from the upper echelons of the organization. But amongst the students and amongst the other teachers, I'm sure I don't know all the details of every teacher, but I do recall and can intuitively recall some coming from very good and pure places, just like myself. So there was this environment created that was very shielded from the world. I also think part of the pull and the attraction for me, once again, I said earlier, I was looking for a guide. I was looking for somebody who can help me, because I did have an overwhelmingly abundant imagination, and there was experimentation with drugs, and sometimes I was quite nervous if like I'd have the capacity to maintain control over myself if I didn't find some guidance to do that. So I think in some sense it was a defense mechanism that the world was so large and so chaotic. And it wasn't even the external world, it was my internal world. It was so chaotic. I was looking to gain some mastery over that. And I guess within that small community, which when I was a chevra, I lived there 7 years. I mean, I basically was in that building. Like, I didn't go anywhere. I didn't really go out and socialize in the world. Having just that small space and that small environment was very. There was something comforting about it. There was something easier about it. Um, things that the Kabbalah Center taught. It's funny, like when I look at it, it was like, what a coincidence, an accident, fate, God, destiny, and call it whatever you want. But it was like an organization perfectly designed for me to like be deceived so easily, because its values, or its proposed values, did really align with my natural essence of who I am. I really, when I joined, I believed I was signing up to change the world and make the world a better place. As a student, they would teach ideas. It's okay to keep going. Yeah. Or should we wait for the sound? As a student, when you just get there, and that's kind of the thing, and I would never proclaim that this is something that exists in every temple, church, mosque, and every religious organization, but I am quite nervous how commonplace it is. They present themselves as a place that's unified, that it wasn't religious, that it was spiritual, that it wasn't about Judaism, that it's about everybody being unified. This was such an attraction for me, because I grew up like that very naturally. I really disliked prejudice towards other races, religions, people. I had friends. I mean, it was very rare, not that I didn't want Jewish friends, but it was very rare for me to even have Jewish friends, because I found my friends from different cultures and outside. Um, so, this itself, this idea of sharing deeper mysteries of the universe, this idea of making a difference, this idea of being part of something greater than myself, was very attractive to me. And I couldn't distinguish between what the institution proclaimed to represent and what it actually represented. And this took me a long time. I was 16, 17 when I started, 19 when I became a chevra. But you also have to realize I grew up kind of sheltered. I grew up with a quite in, I don't want to say a completely easy life, because um, there was no shortage, at least of like food, and I lived in relatively nice places. So I have lots of friends, and I know of lots of people who had a lot of less. So on one level there was ease. On other levels there was my father going away to a white collar jail for a year and a half, and complications with for my mother, and my interaction with my mother of being raised by a mother with, she had three boys, I'm one of three at the time, and what that might have costed me. But what I'm trying to say is I didn't have the bandwidth or the capacity to discern between Like the idea of churches, temples, mosques, and educational institutions are not what they appear. They actually are serving other ends. I mean, how could I have known? How could I have even thought of such an idea? When I fell upon the Kabbalah Center's footsteps, it was the first institution I fell upon. I remember thinking at the time, and even now, there was tension. Like I was actually looking for something more religious. I like there was thoughts of going to Israel and like a much more rabbinical approach. Um, but yeah, I fell for the first one that I found. Um, I do think the ideas within Kabbalah itself, once again, I was thinking about ideas pertaining to Kabbalah before I even found the books on Kabbalah. That's what led me to the books themselves. So it just so happens that I fell in the grip of an organization that whose proposed teachings and ideas were something already inside me before I even found it. So it made it very difficult to discern that. Or did I answer it? Kind of.
Yeah.